Hey, this is Kevin Winston with Yale in Hollywood. Thank you for joining our Yale in Hollywood Fest. We are super honored today to have a panel here with our speakers going to talk a little bit about NFTs and what you need to know, especially from the Hollywood entertainment side of everything. So we hope you enjoyed the festival, amazing films. We now want to educate folks about NFTs because they're getting bigger and bigger. And in fact, you actually are in Miami right now, as am I. For our bad look, because there's a lot of NFTs. So, introduce yourself, your name, your company, and then we'll get into this discussion.
My name is Duc Luu, Yale class of '99 Morris College. My company is called Spores Network. We're an NFT media company, and we have three areas of operations. The first is an NFT marketplace that is a curated pop culture marketplace where we have art, we have entertainment, and then we have blockchain games under the marketplace. The second piece that we do is we do a GameFi launchpad incubator and related VC fund. So we can basically look for projects that are play to earn games. We'll incubate them and then we'll take them to IDO on our launchpad. The third part of our business that we've just started, we're actually going to start in on the 19th of this December, is our first metaverse play, which is a VR gallery that allows both top artists, top galleries, and patrons of the arts to really interact in a metaverse environment, a VR environment, to show off their art, show off their creativity, and then trade on our marketplace immediately. And then in phase two of that, we'll be launching a full metaverse, what we expect to be an open world that would allow you to again, as a creator, as a fan, as a brand, to interact with each other.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. So let's just get right into what is an NFT. We want to make sure that we're all up to speed and people have heard about NFTs. They know it's been the hot thing for the past year or so, longer if you've been in the biz. But what is an NFT? If you could explain it in layman's terms to us.
Sure. In layman's terms, a fungible token, is a single coin that can be replaced by any other coin. A dollar can be replaced by another dollar. It's literally the same value, right? A non-fungible token, an NFT, is a one of one, right? There's only one of Kevin. There's only one of Duke. It can hopefully neither of us can be replaced in the physical world. In the digital world, it acts as the same way. There is code behind it, a smart contract behind the NFT that identifies that work as a one of one. So you can't, even though you could right click and and copy it, as it were, is the great fear. The code says no, that which you made a copy of it is not the original NFT. And then what then that really brings us to is myriad use cases that we'll talk about on this call. At the very least of it is, yes, a single piece of digital art that actually has provenance, has a store of value, right? All the way to, being able to actually experience, a digital world that is uniquely yours, or a part, or in which you can, a world in which you can own a piece of, which is incredibly important. As if you're a sci-fi fan, you think like the world's going to get better and better and more digital and more interconnected, then this is the next step in that evolution of what we're calling in our world Web3.
Great. So you said it's a coin. Again, for the layperson, what does that mean? Is it when you get an NFT, is it a bit of code? Is it a file on a drive that you can email to someone? Is it an image? Can it be embedded in an image? Like, what exactly are we talking about here?
Right. I mean, the NFT is actually a piece of code that links you to a particular image. Yes. And that code says points to that image and says that that image is a one of one, right? And then that's basically what it is. And so when you buy an NFT, you're buying that smart contract.
All right, so NFTs have lots of applications. They could be of many different things. Let's talk about the entertainment applications because this is Yale and Hollywood. Right now, NFTs can be used for art. We're both here at Art Basel, Miami for the art implications. Let's talk about NFTs with art like an image, and then we can talk about NFTs for other things as well, such as film. How does that sound?
So you want me to talk about the art side first? Is that it?
Let's do the art side first, and then.
Yeah, and so I think with the art side, you have what we would call native crypto art, so you have let's put it this way: you have traditional art in physical medium, right? Then you have digital art within the digital medium, but now you have, because of NFTs, you have crypto art, which is obviously a form of digital, but it allows you again to have this sort of provenance, and again to have a uniqueness to it. So then when you're an artist, going, for example, from traditional to digital, you have to kind of find your place in that. Actually, during Art Basel, I was just at one of the big conventions within Art Basel, Miami, and really going to gallery and saying, "Hey, why don't you bring your stable of artists onto our marketplace under your brand?" So let's call it like the Gagosian Gallery, let's say, right? Gagosian Gallery says, "I want to move my artists into the metaverse. I want them to create NFTs, but I don't know how to do it." So what we would do is we would actually work with the Gagosian Gallery, X Spores network, to bring their artists on board into the digital realm, and really sell digital work. Now they could obviously tie that digital work to physical work as well as a gateway or a bridge for their original fan base, right? Damien Hirst recently did that, right, where he actually created a digital work and a physical work and said, if you win the auction, you can choose between either one, which creates an interesting intellectual dilemma for his audience, right? Well, they paid the same price. What are they going to take? They're going to take the physical work, or are they going to take his digital work? I think for artists who are native to crypto, we just did an event with Ferocious, who's a transgender 18-year-old artist who's already recognized by Sotheby's and Christie's as the next rising star in the space. The artist works completely or mostly in the digital realm. Yesterday we were at a function that he does where he brings a community together. Everyone puts on paint suits. We paint together with him on these canvases, and then he digitizes them and then sells them as NFTs. Right? So there's actually a really interesting thing where actually an artist that we're actually bringing up, who's a traditional contemporary artist, he asked me, what's the difference? And I said, actually, maybe the really biggest difference between this transition from the traditional to the digital, and more importantly to crypto art, NFT art, is how you engage your community in the process. For a legacy artist, who are of a different era, even like pre-Gen Z, he's trying to be exceptional. He's trying to stand out from the crowd. He's a great artist, creating great work. All the gallerists kind of pull around him and said, "Hey, here's the next, Basquiat," as it were. right? Whereas this generation is saying, no, I'm part of the community. The community is part of me, and there's a a cycle of support that it's kind of they're married to each other. The artist and his or her community who support them are married to each other and actually grow together and actually finance the artist's success. Again, I just mentioned an 18-year-old who's making probably millions of dollars a year. And that person would have taken 20, 30 years to get to that point. We actually worked with an artist who through our curation process, we found him. He was like an up and comer. Actually, he was actually involved in the entertainment world, so he was actually hired by all the Hollywood studios to do like the creative effects, right, on typical TV shows, and so he'd been doing it for I think like 6 or 7 years. Fox Studios, Disney, you name it. He was a digital artist working for them, and then he broke out with NFTs, and he created fine art out of it, and we picked him up. And then he told us a month later, guys, I just got picked up by Sotheby's, and we were like, congratulations. And then the Sotheby's sale went incredibly well, and now he's like, I'm gonna step away from digital production, right? I'm not gonna take that kind of work much anymore because suddenly I have a fine art career that I never thought I would be able to have so early. Yeah.
So amazing, great examples. Thank you. All right, so in the recently in Hollywood, uh, Quentin Tarantino caused a little bit of stir. I don't know if you heard about this, but Quentin Tarantino caused a little bit of stir where he wanted to get into the NFT market too, and he decided to embed an NFT, I think, into a script that he has. You could have a version of his script from Pulp Fiction that had his digital signature NFT in it. So that was a unique situation. He wanted to sell that. The studio wasn't so happy about that because they're like, hey, Pulp Fiction is our property. But anyway, so the point is a filmmaker is trying to get into the NFT market. How would the average filmmaker get into the NFT market if you're not a Quentin Tarantino and you don't have this like legacy, super well-known script that someone wants to know about? What is the indie? Is there a path or something that the indie filmmaker needs to know about or can get involved with for the NFT market, or is that only really for like the big guys who there's a audience or a community already that wants to like get ahead of their super valuable like digitally signed stuff?
Sure, exactly. So we're actually talking to studios right now. We're talking to studios. We're talking to independent creators, writers, screenwriters. We're talking to filmmakers, and using to looking at, and showing them how to activate NFTs as a medium. For I would say that there are three areas that you can do. The first one is you can do marketing, so pre-film marketing, right? So if you have a film that's debuting, 6 months from now or 9 months from now, then there would be a marketing path that film would take, especially if it's on the studio circuit, right? And so we're actually talking to studios saying, hey, we know this franchise movie is being shot right now, right? Which means we know that it'll finish production and be in the theaters about 9 months from now. So, why don't you use NFTs as a part of your marketing budget or a different type of marketing expense? In fact, arguably, it becomes marketing as a stream of revenue, right? And use that to create engagement. That actually happened today, I think. Today or yesterday, Spider-Man sold out. It was like 1% away from the record sales opening weekend of all time, which was held by Avengers, and they're crediting that in that weekend sale they released the for purchase or for giveaway 86,000 NFTs, right? And so there was a huge rush to buy to buy the movie ticket because the fan base knew they also could get that NFT, right? So there's a lot of marketing, basically activations that can happen, and we want to work with studios, whether it's independent studios or the big boys on that marketing activation. The second area, so I would call that in business terms a cost item, right? And so we're helping solve a cost item. The second one is we're actually creating a revenue line. So merchandising, right? So again, if you have an IP which you feel like has a lot of merchandising value, again, whether it's already a franchise or a movie that could be a franchise, then naturally NFTs are digital collectibles, right? Instead of physical collectibles. I mean, we know most recently the movie Dune came out, and when it came out, Todd McFarlane Toys had already built, the physical collectibles, right? And actually, Dune had a kind of a cool activation where you could create your own avatar, right? So I could have a Fremen suit and gear on as my face, Duc Luu. Now, what if they had extended that further and said, actually, that avatar that you created can be an NFT, and it could then be owned by you. And then what would be a cooler extension would be then, oh, that Duc Luu avatar could exist in an open Dune metaverse that they would create next. Right? So then I can enter into that metaverse that they build out as a game, right? Maybe phase 2 of the studio's plan, right? And then I can literally exist as a real character within that game with my gear, right? So digital merchandising leading into a metaverse play for deeper pockets is actually really exciting. The third way is something that we're pioneering. Actually, I'm actually headed to LA in about a week or so, and we're meeting with a lot of producers who have projects, similar to kind of Stoner Cats, right? I think Stoner Cats by Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher, who was really, if you're in the industry, Stoner Cats couldn't be made for several years, right? No one wanted to touch it for whatever reason. And so when the opportunity for NFTs as a medium of fundraising came about, they were actually able to do it. They were actually able to find a way to get it paid, the entire series paid for. I think the pilot and it might be like the first season paid for through sort of a Kickstarter type environment where the investors, right, the Kickstarters would actually get merch, would actually be involved in the storytelling of that series. So we're actually pitching that to a bunch of production studios and producers right now, and that's what I'm going back to LA to do mid-December, and we hope that we can actually package it, and then we launch pad it as a project that needs to be incubated, that needs to be funded. So I think that those are the three areas.
All right, that's a nice overview. So marketing, revenue generating by selling collectibles that are affiliated with the film, and then there is a Kickstarter crowdfunding by generating excitement for that. So to actually help with development. So yeah, that sounds great. Cool. So franchise properties that are already well known, or filmmakers that are well known. For example, can an indie filmmaker use the Kickstarting or use the marketing technique? Do you think that would work, or if they haven't developed a community, or if there's no IP that people already know about?
I think that's possible. I think it could be an indie filmmaker. It could be a writer creator who has a pet project that can't be traditionally financed, right? They already do big budget stuff, or they're already a screenwriter, a writer director, but they have this pet project that the studio won't do. This could be an avenue because they already have an audience. If you I mean, we're going to be pioneering this, very frankly, right? So if you're an indie filmmaker and you'd pretty much have to have, my guess is, some level of credibility, right? In some instance, like, who are you? Why is this script important? But then, maybe it's a case of, like, you'll again engage your fans in different versions of the script, different phases of the indie filmmaking process, and then in return they help fund it. Again, this is an opportunity for us. We don't know how it's going to turn out. I know there was one film, I think it was Anthony Hopkins's film recently, that was completely funded, right, through tokenization. But of course, that's Anthony Hopkins, a leading project. So we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out when we do these projects, what the crypto community will say. What the crypto community wants, I'm sure, with these kind of projects is that, something was like the Board Apes Yacht Club. It began as a bunch of quote unquote, JPEGs of profile pictures, 10,000 of them. But now they have a true utility because of a couple of important things. The first thing is that each of the 10,000 is uniquely yours. Once you buy it, you temporarily, while you have it, own the creative rights to it. The parent company still owns the Bored Ape brand. You can't directly use the Bored Ape brand, but you can therefore have a piece of quote unquote equity, in the character that you currently own. And that's then led, to actually production deals. I think Bored Apes has like a production deal for some kind of project coming out in the next year. And other shows are being created around some of the more popular PFP projects. So it's really taking, artwork, which then becomes a community, which then the community actually gets quote unquote equity through participation and ownership of those NFTs, which then can lead to a stream of entertainment products, right? Whether it's film, it's television, it's games, or merchandising. They're really the crypto community is saying, we want a cash flow stream from these projects if you're going to ask for our money, versus you can't just say, hey, look, I've got some cool swag. Like, that's not enough for the crypto community.
Okay, great. In the movie marketing world, some of the assets that you have to market a movie, or the things that people tend to collect, are the movie poster, especially a signed copy of the movie poster.
Yeah.
There are also movie stills, images from the movie that could have an NFT attached to it. There could be a copy of the script, either one page or the entire script, a signed copy. That's another asset. And then there's the entire movie itself. Can you basically attach like an NFT to any one of those assets and have that be a digital collectible? Is that a way to think about it, or not?
Exactly it. Yes, every one of those things that you mentioned can be digitized and be a digital collectible, and then you assign how many editions you want to give away. How many signed scripts you want to give away. Sorry, to sell. And then that becomes the limited edition, right? Hey, actually, think of it as like photography. You have the one image, right? And then once you have that Ansel Adams image, in the Ansel Adams Foundation still prints, old archival images, right? And they'll do a set of 500 or a set of 250 every once in a while, and those are very, very collectible because, again, the provenance is clear, the limited quantity is clear, and they've already projected that the demand should outstrip that supply, so that the price will go up. So I think all those collectible items that you said that used to exist in the physical world could exist in the digital world. I would say that the film script would be maybe the old-fashioned way to think about it, but the crypto way may really be like the outtakes, right? The editing process, a lot more process stuff on the concept art side, for example, can get monetized because it's again, NFTs are much more visual than the physical side of things of collectibles.
Okay, so concept art, storyboards.
I was actually thinking about, like, I was watching Ready Player One again the other day, and the main character goes on a quote unquote date, and he was flipping through what outfit he should wear, and he was choosing between like Michael Jackson's like Beat It outfit and Marty McFly's outfit in Back to the Future because he had bought those outfits as avatars, and so that's something that we could probably see being monetized in the future.
So the wardrobe from a film could also be
Yeah,
um,
iconic, right? Bruce Lee's yellow suit. I'm sure. Between Miramax and Shaw Studios, one of those guys wants to NFT that outfit, and sell it to all the fanboys who want to be Bruce Lee on the Sandbox or Decentraland.
right. Awesome. So, are there marketplaces for these entertainment NFTs? So, for example, let's say that all these filmmakers are now creating NFTs around their part. Let's say I'm a big fan of Back to the Future, which I am, and I wanted like a Back to the Future poster. Is there a marketplace where I could just like with eBay or Google, like type in Back to the Future NFT and
Yeah.
see all the various NFTs how it related to that? Are those marketplaces existing yet, or will I have to somehow find the filmmaker and see if they've created an NFT if they tweeted about it?
Right, and that's exactly what we do. I mean, I think for those of you who are very, very much aware of the crypto space, you've got aggregators like OpenSea who are, the dominant marketplace. Right now maybe like something 90% of all marketplace non-game marketplaces, right? But given that, we now get to a different problem, which is, I mean, when you go to eBay, how much do you trust what's on eBay, right? And so you're like, is this the script? Is this the correct sign script? How, what's the provenance of this? The example I like to use is like, I'm a watch collector. I'm a guy who likes watches enough, right? And especially like vintage kind of stuff. And so, before the digital age, I would go to a very good watch dealer in New York, in Hong Kong, whatever, to find my correct Panerai, Rolex, and because he's a trusted shop and he knows his stuff, I trust that this is a real thing with the certificates, etc. What then happened was, a company called Chrono24 came about, and Chrono24 was a dedicated marketplace to find watches, right? And they created a lot of different tools that created trust, efficiency, and in the marketplace. For example, they actually provided escrow, which was quite rare in the watch market, right? To provide escrow to really say, we'll put your money where your mouth is in terms of authentication. And so today, like, I really don't try to collect anything outside of Chrono 24 because I just want the safety that this is original product. And also the selection is a lot easier because it's a vertically integrated marketplace, and looking at that set of products versus like super broad. And so right now, if you went on OpenSea and you said, yeah, I want to go find, Marty McFly's, jacket, well, even if you found it, you wouldn't know that if it's that, is it really, that item which belongs as, I believe, IP under Universal Studios, for example, right? Or do you want to go to a site like Spores that signed a deal with Universal, right? That has put Back to the Future's assets, to be available for NFTs, so then they become certified as to the Future products, right? And so we're gonna see that. Actually, we have investors who are commenting on that. It's like, isn't it just all going to go to aggregators or some of the big crypto exchanges? I said no, because again, you need the trust of the verticals, and I think we're seeing that. And so, or at least that's our thesis at Spores Network, and that's actually the approach that we're having with the studios is we're that place for all entertainment assets. Come to us. Right, and we're branding ourselves in the marketplace as that.
Cool, awesome. Um, in a lot of cases, in most cases, the community, like you said before, is very important. How do you foster that community, and do you go after, or do you go to other communities, aficionados?
Sorry, can you say that again? I lost you a bit there.
Sorry. Community is very important with NFTs, because once you have an NFT that comes out, you want people to be excited about it and to actually participate in it. You basically go to your existing film community, whoever's already following you on Twitter or Instagram or your Facebook film community, and say, hey, we have an NFT out now. Is that the best approach, or do you go to other communities of, say, just NFT people and say, hey, I have this new property? How do you develop the community and foster the community and get them excited when you don't have something coming out?
Yeah, and so it's actually exactly both sides of that, right? So you're building a traditional community who's not crypto savvy, or maybe you have that community already, and you're trying to activate them into the world of NFTs. So again, let's say you have a successful film already, and you're trying to again grow a larger audience, with your current fan base, find a different level of monetization, right? And so you're going to tell them, again, the example is Spider-Man No Way Home, right? This is an NFT. This is why, it's valuables, and this is why, quote unquote, you should collect it, right? And so that's one group. And then on the other hand, you have the crypto community, which is a very strong community in itself, very wealthy community in itself. And so what you're talking to them about is, hey, this asset is interested in being in the NFT world. Please support it. And so then you have to engage with that group, whether it's on Discord, whether it's on Twitter or Telegram. You have to build out those communities and activate them at the same time, so that both people both groups are supporting you, and maybe even cross-pollinating you. A good example, I think, would be, or a good corollary would be like Patreon. Right? Patreon in Web 2 does a version of that. You can have an artist who's already been successful, maybe made a couple of movies. Actually, one of our artists did that, American McGee, who's a very famous game designer, right? And so he actually uses his Patreon to support his new projects. Right, and so they because they're excited about that particular project, he says, please help, please donate, please, so that we can be able to fund this phase or this phase or this phase of the production process. and they're very very loyal and willing to do that. So I think that NFTs gives you that sort of Patreon like option, but again at a greater scale, because I think Patreon is very small, very very like tight knit communities who are kind of like charity donating to the artist. Whereas I think crypto people, because they're investors and traders to begin with, they're actually willing to monetize faster than the other route. I hope that makes sense.
Right.
All right, that was a little bit of a
Yeah.
long
Uh,
answer.
how about we're talking about communities? Is there a Yale community for people who are into NFTs or crypto? Do you know other Yaleans who are into it? I don't know of any Facebook groups or anything of people who are doing NFT that went to Yale. Do you have any? Do you have any?
It's all scattered. I mean, it's yeah, it's kind of scattered. I know a bunch of Harvard guys who are doing it. I'm sure there's a bunch of Yale people. We just have to slowly get out there, and then they'll kind of creep in their hand up and be like, "Yes, I have a portfolio, or I have an NFT collection." You know, I
Maybe
think
I'll
we're
do
there much more than you think, and it's just we just have to like out ourselves, right?
maybe I'll do some posts on the Yale alumni Facebook group asking if there's who's in NFTs now. I did a few asking about cryptocurrency like 3 years ago, and there were a couple. So I'm sure there are a few more now who are doing NFTs. So
Really about the age group, right? My classmates, I reached out to a couple recently, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm a fund manager. I know about it, but it's still a brave new world. You want to walk me through it, and I'll try to get involved, right?" But I'm sure the 2016 graduates are like, "Yeah, I was trading it, in my dorm on the Ethernet, you know, and I didn't have to go get a job, like an Uber job on the side to pay for college."
exactly, exactly. Cool. Well, we covered a lot. What if is there something else like people definitely need to know about NFTs? Where you're like, oh, I wish we had talked about this one thing. I think we covered a lot, but I always like to ask people if there's anything else that we missed that people definitely need to know about NFTs.
Yeah, I think that the model of Ready Player One, The Matrix, these immersive AR, VR experiences where you own a piece of that world be through NFTs is going to happen. I think that the AAA game world is a little bit resistant, but some of the big studios have recognized that they have to NFTify a part of their ecosystem to retain their fan base, right? And at the same time, the Web3 guys are fully, committed to building a metaverse. So I think that keyword metaverse, I don't know if it's going to be a corporatized Facebook version of the metaverse. That sounds so fun. So fun. Right? But but if it's more of like, yeah, I can go into a metaverse that is the Dune world, and I can go play there for a couple hours, and again own the assets there and sell off the assets there anytime and monetize that the economies within those games. I think they're going to be really interesting, and that's where you're really merging storytelling, right, with filmmaking, with gameplay. That's definitely where we're heading. I don't know how long it's going to take us to get there, but usually it's always like a third of the time that you think it takes with technology, right? You think it's going to take this long, but boom, it's already there, and you're in the rocker going, "What just happened?" Right?
That's the way it always is. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us as part of our Yale and Hollywood Fest, talking a little bit about NFTs and how filmmakers and the entertainment world can use and leverage that. So, but want to reach out and can they follow you on Instagram or Twitter or?
Yeah. So, but I'm actually again, I'm going to be regularly in Hollywood. As I said, I'm very much trying to connect Hollywood to the NFT world. So you can reach out to me at duke@spores.app for my company email, or Twitter is ask Duke, and my Insta is Director D. Each the different socials is depends on the vertical that you care about. But yeah, you reach out with me in any one of those, and happy to connect and find ways to activate what you guys are doing in Hollywood with what we're doing.
Great. Well, I know that you're at Miami or Basel. There's a lot of NFTs stuff here. It's like there's like NFT this in Wynwood. There's NFTs in Miami. There's NFTs at the Sagamore. There was an NFT talk today about like Stan Lee and NFTs. There was one yesterday with Dead Mouse and activation at the Sagamore. Like it just really exploded. This didn't even exist like 2 years ago at Art Basel Miami, the last one. It just
Yeah.
really has blown up. And shown that the intersection of art and music, entertainment, and NFTs is definitely a place to be at. So thank you for sharing with us and helping educate Yale's and friends during our Yale and Hollywood Fest. Totally appreciate it. And again, definitely follow him. And he has great knowledge and stuff about what he's doing. So definitely follow him on his socials. So thanks again so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, guys.
We'll let you get back to Art Basel NFT party hopping. So because now it's time.
Where we're going, right?
Thanks again so much.
All right. Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.